clean my glasses. They're horrible. Itty bitty, come here. It was laying good. And then I stepped out to the kitchen for a second. And then now he's gonna start his cat call. If you're just hopping on, tell me who you are, where you're from. Hello? Trying to clean my glasses, they're filthy. Thank you for the likes, I appreciate that. Hey Jen. I think maybe I got them now. Ugh, they're just so... They just smear so easy. I was gonna get another pair today and yeah. Okay, well, I just think I made that one worse. I swear. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. Hello? Trying to clean my glasses so I can read the comments. Hopefully. There, that's better. Much better. Much better. How's everybody's Sunday? Everybody ready for the new week? I'm not. But I will have to be, right? If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. Hello, hello. So I'm just gonna wait a few minutes, not very long, because I am already running late tonight. I was just about to hit the button at 7:30 on the dot, and I thought all my cats and animals were in here. Frank from Indianapolis, welcome. Door number 3, thank you for the badge, I appreciate that. Do you have a name, door number 3, and where you're from? And so I thought all my animals were in here, and my daughter has moved out, so I thought, okay, and I heard something down the hallway, and I was like, okay. Anyway, so that's why I'm late. Door number 3, thank you for the badge again, I appreciate that. Did I not say Frank? Oh, I'm sorry. That shows how tired I am. I didn't put the two together. Sorry, Frank. Oh, Lord. I must be half asleep tonight. Sorry about that. Thanks for pointing that out, Jen. Holy cow. Oh, Lord. You know, if you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at, right? All right, guys. Thanks for the badge, Jen. Oh, I just didn't make the connection. It scrolled up so fast. What state? Was it Indianapolis? Is that what it was? Let me scroll back. Oh, goodness gracious. I just read Frank in Indianapolis, and I didn't read door number 3. So when you posted the badge, I didn't even make the connection. Sorry. As my husband would have used to say, blonde moment. He always said I was a blonde-eyed brunette. Sometimes. It happens. Thanks for the badge. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to get started here because I'm running late. So if you're new here, tell us who you are, where you're from. Hopefully I'll be able to make the connection. My name is Renee, if you're not familiar, and I'm from South Dakota. Welcome. I started my TikTok in March of 2024, and the reason I started my TikTok is because in September of 2023, my husband unalived himself, and at that time, I discovered that I had abilities to talk to my spirit guides, and they slowly breadcrumbed me to my purpose, which is to help other people through loss and trauma, and so that's why I'm here. And so we talk about all kinds of things here has to do with loss, and even my goal is to not only help people through loss, but to also help people after the fact, right? You know, you can go to a therapist and you can kind of move forward from a loss or a trauma, but then nobody ever helps you. What's the next step, right? Like, what are you going to do with your life? And And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. So the after effects of loss, right? So we're going to talk about, real quick first, I just want to say I am on my journey of life where I am and you are where you are. And so none of us ever are going to agree on everything. And so we agree to disagree here on this page. Thank you for the badge. And hi, do you have a name and where are you from? And so, like I said, if you can't agree to disagree, I just ask that you hop off and keep scrolling. There are times we do talk about sensitive topics here, so please don't report me. I apologize, I have 2 cats fighting under my bed now. This is what they do when I go live. I can't help it. Never a dull moment, always a circus in my house. And so I only have 2 rules here. The first rule is that I just ask that if you're here, just please be kind, right? There's enough mean and awful things going on in the world. I just ask that you be kind to each other. And the second one is we talk absolutely no politics here. It's just not at all what my page is about. It's not against one side or the other. It has nothing to do with that. It's just not at all what my page is about. Jess, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. And so those are my only rules. I like to say my page is your page. This is my community is your community. That's what I created it for. So if you're going through something, I cannot talk tonight, guys. Sorry. It's going to be a long night if I can't talk and I can't, Lord. But my community is your community. I set this up for people who, if you have a loss and you just need a place to go, or if you're lonely or whatever it is. And my page depends on you communicating with me back and forth when I go live. So we're not shy here. So pipe in anytime. You're never interrupting me. Generally, when I go live, my spirit guides give me the topic. And I actually had gotten this topic last week, but I wasn't feeling well last week. And so that night I didn't end up getting on. So I decided we're going to do this topic tonight. So tonight we're going to talk about the after effects of loss. And like I said, don't be shy. Hey Julie, thank you for the badge. I appreciate that. Bonnie, welcome. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, you're just hopping on. My name is Renee and I'm from South Dakota. Welcome. So, first of all, life changes, right? I know for me, when I lost my husband, one of the big after effects was my routines changed. Right away, things changed. You know, from when I went to the grocery store, I didn't buy the same things I bought, right? I would walk around the grocery store and go, okay, what do I buy now? Because, you know, a lot of the times it was like, well, I'd buy that for my husband, or I'd buy that for my husband, right? And so everything in my life changed. If you missed the beginning, my husband unalived himself. We were together for 32 years. And in September of 23, he unalived himself. And so my entire world of 32 years crumbled. Is that a deal? Elaborate on that question, because I get to talking and I'm not sure what you're referring to. Maggie May, where are you from? Thank you for the follow. And so, like I said, when we experience a loss, and a lot of times a loss can be, it doesn't have to be somebody passing away. A loss can be a loss of a relationship, a loss of a, you know, whatever it may be. Georgia, welcome. And so our routines change. Sometimes our housing changes. Our jobs change. For me, my job changed because I did craft shows before my husband passed, and then I had to, you know, go to work full time to take care of myself. So things change. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. The after effects of loss, how things change, and then where do we go from there, right? That's my goal, is to help people to figure out, okay, now all of this has changed, now what? Okay? So we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. So for me, personally, my whole identity was wrapped up in my husband and my marriage for 32 years, basically, right? I had been with my husband since I was 16 years old. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Never mind. Aw, are you sure you don't want to elaborate on that? I have a pretty good sense of humor. If it was, did I just not catch something? I apologize. I just never know what I say. But thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for the badge. Do you have a name and where you're from? And so my whole identity was wrapped up in my marriage and in my husband, right? I was with him for 32 years since I was 16 years old. And so I didn't know who I was outside of him. So for me, I had to figure out who was I, right? Richard, thank you for the badge. I appreciate that. Thanks for the badge, Jen. So figuring out who was I, and then once I figured out who I was, learning to love myself, which is another thing entirely. Thank you for the badge. Louisiana. Is it Noreen? Did I say that right? Welcome. Glad to have you here. If you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. If you're not familiar, my name is Renee and I'm from South Dakota. Welcome. So who are you now, right? You've had that loss. Maybe you, like I said, you were a couple for a long time. You don't know who you are separate from that person, right? Richard from Los Angeles, welcome. Glad to have you here. And then, like I said, where do I go from here? And for me, initially, when I lost my husband, since we were together for 32 years and we'd only been apart for 2 weeks in that 32 years ever, I literally didn't know how to breathe, let alone where do I go from here, you know? And I saw my whole world crumble, and, you know, like I said, my routine changed because now it's just me. I only have to take care of me, right? Thank you for the follow, Noreen. I appreciate that. And then we were living out of our camper because of my husband's work situation. And so then I came back to my apartment. And so, you know, my living situation changed in that aspect, but then it not only changed when I got back to my apartment because I'm used to him being here with me, right? So then at that time, my youngest daughter moved back in with me. And so there again, another routine, another living situation, so another change. And then, like I said, I either was working part-time or I was doing craft shows or I wasn't working at all. So then my job situation changed. So a lot of different things can affect us after a loss, right? And then here's the big thing too is, okay, so where do I go from here? What are the effects of loss? How do I heal? How do I heal that loss? So like I just said, you know, I didn't even know how to breathe. Everybody just kept telling me, put one foot in front of the other, and I didn't know how to breathe, let alone put one foot in front of the other. So I had to figure out how to do that. And for me, it literally was a daily struggle to just get through the hours, get through the day, and then eventually, as I started to heal, it was get through the weeks, the months, and then eventually the years. Because as of a week ago, today, my husband had been gone for 2 years. So, you know, eventually you learn how to move forward. But that takes time. But like I said, so who am I without that person, right? I know a lot of parents who lose children who have passed, and they don't know how to move forward, and they don't know who they are without their child, right? And so that's a big thing, is figuring out who are you now that you've lost that person, you know, and where do you go from here? And then the next step is not only, you know, once you've kind of figured out where do I go from here, right? Like maybe you get settled into a new routine, new house, new job, whatever it may be, then the question becomes, now who do I want to be? Because for me, like I said, my whole identity was, I was Daryl's wife for 32 years, right? I was my children's mother, because that's what I did primarily. I mean, I worked outside of the home, but primarily I was a wife and I was a mother. And so, like I said, my whole entire identity was wrapped up in that. And so then I kind of came to the conclusion after I started healing, okay, now who am I, and what do I want to be, or who do I want to be, right? Because basically I could choose my new identity, right? And for me, some of it was chose for me. That's why I'm here. If you missed the very beginning, I discovered that I had abilities to talk to my spirit guides, and then months later discovered that I was a psychic medium. I had all of those abilities, and if you're new here and you missed the very beginning also, you don't have to agree with anything that I just said of what I am. You don't have to, we agree to disagree here. I don't push that on anyone. I'm just telling you because this is my page. But my point is, so now I kind of had a new identity, right? Now I have this new purpose. My guides, breadcrumb me to my purpose. And so some of it was kind of established by the creator, God, source, universe, whatever it is that you say, the divine, right? Said, okay, this is your purpose in life, and this is why you went through everything you went through. So some of it was kind of decided for me, but at the same time, it was like, okay, now I get to decide who is it that I want to be, right? What kind of a person do I want to be? How, all of those things that come with it. And then of course, my husband and I we had our own life goals and things that we wanted to do in life, and all of that changed also. No, I don't want to co-host, but thank you. Mel, thank you for the badge. I appreciate that. Did I miss anybody else? Thank you for all the hearts too, guys. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. And so all of that changed as well, right? Because, our goal was to downsize and to become basically almost full-time RVers. I say almost because all but like 3 months out of the year. And so, that was our goal together. And then my husband left and everything crumbled and everything was taken away from me. So it's like, okay, so that's no longer a goal because it's just not feasible in the new life that I have at the moment, right? So lots of different decisions and things to think about and to realize when somebody has a loss and how many after effects there are to that, right? It's easy to say, somebody says, they've lost somebody and it's easy to go, I'm sorry for your loss, but maybe take a step back and go, how can I be there for that person, realizing that maybe there's a lot of things that are affected in their life now besides just losing that person, right? And I didn't have a lot of support, if it wasn't for my friend that's on here, her and I have been friends for 21 years, if it wasn't for her and my children, I didn't have a lot of support. So, maybe just be conscious of that when somebody has lost someone. So the next step is, okay, so you figure out, okay, you've kind of healed, you're working through that, you're healing, and then, like I said, then you figure out, okay, this is kind of who I want to be, right? Because you kind of can recreate yourself a little bit, right? For me, I became a content creator, which I never dreamt in a million years I would be, right? If somebody would have said 10 years ago, you're going to be online and you're going to be a content creator, I would have laughed at them, right? So, things change in life. And so, like I said, once you worked through that healing, then you're figuring out who you are, then it's, okay, now what do I want to do with my life, right? Because, like I said, for me, all of my goals and dreams kind of shattered. So now it's like, okay, now I have to figure out, now I know who I am, truly figured out who I was, and I began to love myself. Now, where do I go from here? What are my goals? What are my dreams? And how do I take steps to get to that, right? So, does anybody have anything? You guys are so quiet. My page depends on if you guys talk to me, so don't be shy. Jen, are you seeing any comments? Sometimes they like to hide my comments. I have no filters on, and I probably just glitched there. At least I did on my end. Anybody have any questions or just a comment? Anything? Anybody had a loss they want to talk about that we can talk through? No, nothing new? Okay, everybody's just quiet, huh? Okay. All right. So I don't have a lot more tonight. Like I said, it's, just working through each of those different things, and how loss can affect us. And like I said, loss doesn't have to mean somebody passing away. It could be a loss of a relationship. Maybe you live with somebody for 10 years and they decided to up and move out on you and, and leave you. Whatever the case may be, right? But just figuring out, okay, now what do we do and how do we handle that? I know for me, in the very beginning, it was like, okay, I had to take baby steps. Like I said, I would go to the grocery store and it was like, well, I'd buy him that, and I'd buy him that, and I'd buy him that, right? And very little actually ever went in the cart for myself, right? And so learning how to reshop, right? Learning how to cook. I went from cooking for 6 people to 5 to 3 to 2, and now it's learning how to cook for just one, and figuring out, okay, how do I just cook for one? And some nights I go, oh, screw it, I'm just gonna have a bowl of cereal, right? Because it's easier than cooking for one sometimes, even though I love to cook, but I'm used to cooking for 2 people or 3 people, so everything in your life can change, and figuring out, okay, how do I tackle that issue? Okay, I think that's pretty much, nobody has anything they want to say or talk about tonight? Anybody? It's going to be a quick live. Okay, well, while I'm waiting to see if anybody's going to talk to me tonight, if you're just hopping on, tell us who you are, where you're from. My name is Renee and I'm from South Dakota. Welcome. I'm going to talk real quick. I have a YouTube channel if you're not familiar. I would love it if you went over there and subscribed. You'll find all the videos that I have uploaded here over there. The only difference is if you miss a live and you'd like to catch it, I upload and you can watch the replay over there on my YouTube, which is Scorpio Medium, by the way. So yes, I'm a medium if you missed that. I'm actually a psychic medium. I'm live here with usually a new topic almost every night, Sunday through Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Tonight I was a few minutes late. Sometimes that happens. On Wednesday nights, we started doing mini reads. My guides are like, I want you to practice your abilities. And I'm like, okay, how am I supposed to do that? And they're like, well, you have a TikTok. So we've been doing that, 3 weeks in a row, Jen? 2 weeks? 3 weeks, I think. So if you would like a mini read, I do mini read Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Let's see. If you would like a full reading, you can go down into my bio. I have 2 emails there. If you email me, you can set up for a full reading there if you would like. And last but not least, I also have a Venmo down in my bio. If you would like to leave me a tip, if you enjoy my content, it does take time to make all this content and videos. So if you would like to leave me a tip, you enjoy my content, you can do that through my Venmo down below. That's pretty much everything I have to say tonight. Anybody else have anything they want to add or talk about? Nobody? Everybody's so quiet. You don't have to be shy here. That's what my channel's for. That's what my page, my community is about. People can get on and talk if you need to talk. If you're lonely, you don't have nobody else to talk to, that's what we're here for. So, nobody going once? Okay, going twice? Oh, I did want to add, this week I will not be on Tuesday night because Jen, my friend and Jen and I are going to the movie. We do that sometimes on Tuesdays. You're very lonely. I'm sorry. Is your name Pete? Well, welcome, Pete. We have a lot of good people here sometimes that hop on sometimes. So you're welcome to hop on and chat with us. Where are you from, Pete? Thank you for the badge. readings are $40. So last year my guide said I needed to start, that I had a service, and I said I do, and they're like yes, and they're like you need to start doing readings for people. And I really didn't want to charge, but my guides are like, you know, Renee, you have a service, you're like a mechanic, you know, I have a service. Pennsylvania, welcome. And so I said it, I feel like that's fair, right? You know, so I have my service, but I'm still helping people, hopefully. So, yep, $40. Jen just put it in the chat. Any other questions or any other comments? Well, welcome, Pete. We're here, like I said, Sunday through Wednesday. Wednesday night we do mini reads, but I will not be on Tuesday night. I will put a reminder on here that I won't be on because we're going to the movies. We do that sometimes on Tuesday night. So there's a good movie showing this week, and we're going to check it out. Anybody else have anything? How do I hear my spirit guides? Two ways. I'm clairaudient, and what is the other one? I always get them mixed up. Clairvoyant. So I have visions, but that's not how I see it. So I hear them, but then also it's really hard to explain if you've never had it happen to you, but so I hear them, and then there are times that it's kind of like telepathy, I guess you could say. Like they implant things in my head. Like they'll just tell me something, and I've learned how to distinguish whether it's my thought or something that they've kind of put in there. I don't know how to explain it. Like I said, but most of the time, and then sometimes my guides talk to me through song. If you go back and look at my videos, I get songs. So like in the morning, sometimes before I even get out of bed, I'll have a song playing, and that's my guide's way of telling me to look that up. And then I just know intuitively, like she tells me which verse. Sometimes the verse plays in my head too. It's really complicated. Like when I first started, they would get like send me a chalkboard in my mind, and they would give me words and pictures, and it was like Pictionary. So it kind of can be just about anything, to be honest with you. But most of the time, I just hear her. Like I said, I just hear her. It's like I hear a voice, I guess you could say. Does that make sense? It's so hard to explain if you've never experienced it. But they do like to give you thoughts too. So, anyway. Anybody else? Any other questions? Or any other comments? Anybody? All right, guys. Well, I will be back here tomorrow night then at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time. I hope y'all have a great night, and remember to make tomorrow great, because it is a choice. And I'll see you all tomorrow night until we meet again.